What's the fastest you've seen a crowd go from excited to horrified? An animal show at Busch Gardens. The camels started effing. Camels don't F. They make love. They hump. Also at Busch Gardens, years ago, elephant took a gigantic, loud poop. I mean a monumental brap. Goats ran over at warp speed and began feasting on it. The crowd was so appalled. It was wonderful. So much better than watching the goats form a pyramid. I'm giggling thinking about the poor, young girl MC attempting not to retch as the goat handlers tried to interrupt their poop party. Edit. I've been given the goat award. My life is full. But, apparently not as full as the goats. The entire assembled students from the elementary school where teacher/astronaut Krista McAuliffe taught at, who were broadcast, lived to the world as they watched the Space Shuttle Challenge explode seconds after takeoff, killing all hands on board, including their teacher. The climax of the last Twilight movie is a fight scene that goes on for 10 minutes. Vampires are ripping each other's heads off, giant wolves are throwing them around like chew toys, and one by one each of Bella's friends and family die around her. You can actually hear people in the audience react as each named character dies. And none of this happened in the book, which was criticized for its lack of climax. As each minute goes on, it feels like they improved the film's story to give it a real sense of danger and excitement and payoff to the series. So stuff's intense. And right as they kill the big bad evil guy, the camera fades to black, pulls out, and reveals that all of it was a vision. The last 10 minutes didn't happen. It was someone seeing a future that might happen. No one died. Just a bunch of vampires and wolves standing around staring at each other in silence. Then they all walk away, alive and well. The crowd groans. A girl up front shouts, "Are you kidding me?" Everyone sits back in their seat. No one cares about what's happening on screen anymore. Some people are laughing because someone hit the undo button on the most exciting 10 minutes of the movie. Never have I seen a theater turn on a film so quickly and so hard. Pink Floyd often would have giant floating pigs released during the concert. You know, inflatable balloons. This would happen like halfway through the show. Well, people are smoking tons of pot, drinking, doing God knows what other drugs, so by the time the pig is released it's basically like God descending from the heavens. People were losing their resh at the pig. Well, it got caught in one of the wires and caught on fire. You've never seen so many stoners fall to their knees in terror/fear/sorrow over the death of a giant inflatable pig. There is no God anymore. His bacon got fried. There was a guy performing risky stunt dives in a river for money. He pulled off great stuff and people were clapping and clearly hyped. One of the tricks went really bad and he crashed headfirst into a rock from a decent height and killed himself. A friend of mine decided it would be fun to try and see if he could smash a beer glass on his head. Up until then he was just being an enthusiastic drunk and had some positive attention. He then decided the beer glass thing was a good idea and promptly executed it. Head wounds bleed a lot in the first minute. Crowd went from "Oh, you're cute" to "F, he's gonna die." I sobered up in an instant and got a semi-clean towel for him to stop the bleeding. Thankfully head wounds also stop bleeding pretty quick in most instances. WWE's Over the Edge 1999. Owen Hart fell 70 feet to his death during the event, and the company inexplicably continued on with the show after he'd been taken to a hospital. I saw this on YouTube somewhere. A bodybuilder was strutting his stuff in front of a crowd, warming them up and everything at an event. They absolutely loved it. Many people had attended just to see him. He was at his peak. Huge muscles and sculpted physique. Absolutely amazing. I don't personally like the bodybuilding look, but you've got to respect hard work. The crowd was cheering him, and he got so pumped up, so full of energy and emotion that instead of just walking onto the stage he did an impromptu jump flip. He launched himself high into the air and did this impressive flip. The crowd went berserk. But he was a bodybuilder, not a gymnast. He landed on his neck and died instantly, crumpling on the spot. It is one of the most horrific, sudden and unexpected things I've ever seen. Maybe the worst part was not all of the crowd realized immediately. They kept smiling and cheering for their hero for another minute before it sank, in that they had just witnessed him die right in front of them, and they were clapping for a dead man. 7 to 8 years ago during a concert there was an earthquake, not too huge, but enough for some speakers to fall and to scare the poop out of those attending. An American comedian in the Republic of Ireland saying how happy he was to be in the United Kingdom. Monday Night Football, November 18th, 1985. Washington Redskins vs the New York Giants. I was pretty young at the time, so being allowed to stay up late on a weekday was a rare occasion. During one of the plays, Joe Theismann was sacked by Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson of the Giants. The entire stadium went silent as Theismann would end up suffering a compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. What I remember most vividly is that the broadcast kept replaying it over and over again and seeing Shin snap at a 90-degree angle. It made me physically nauseous and had to walk out of the room. If I recall correctly, following the injury, broadcasting policies were changed so that constant replays like this would not be shown in the future. I was at some weird zoo/animal preserve north of Phoenix in 2012, and there was a tigress in chain-linked compound. This little girl went up to her and blew her a kiss. The tigress looked at her and licked her own, not the little girl's, whiskers, and the crowd went all wild. The tigress shifted a little bit and peed all over the little girl. The crowd was shocked and horrified, but I laughed my butt off. During a Buffalo Sabres game, Clint Malarkuk took an ice skate to the neck, severing his carotid artery and partially cutting his jugular vein. He almost bled out on the ice. The sight was so horrifying 2 fans had heart attacks and 11 others fainted. Numerous fans vomited at the sight of all the blood. Malarkuk thought he was going to die on the ice, so his only thought was getting off the ice, so his mom didn't have to watch him die on TV. He asked for a priest and had the equipment manager call his mom to tell her he loved her. The only reason he didn't die is a Sabres athletic trainer was a combat medic in Vietnam. My parents were at the game and said that most of the fans assumed the worst and that seeing the ice turn red was one of the more horrifying things they'd seen in person. I don't know if this counts, but I'm a huge fan of 90s rock. Con, Slipknot, Seether, Mushroom Head, etc. Anyways, I've always wanted to see Marilyn Manson in concert, and he was opening for I think one of the mentioned bands above a few years back. Anyways, he comes on and just looked horrible, kind of slurring, but whatever, I get it. So like 4 songs in he starts singing Beautiful People and mostly everyone seemed into it. Well, maybe BC it's TX, and it was an outdoor venue over 100 degrees, but he just goes, F it, you'll suck, and walks off stage. Took a few seconds to register with everyone he wasn't joking, and every starts booing and cussing. I was legit excited and it just turned to garbage so quick. We were all 17 to 18 on a school trip. Typical week away doing rock climbing, archery, camping, etc. At the end of the trip we are gathered in a big hall for one final gathering, and then out of the blue there was a demonstration on how to effectively kill a chicken, using a live chicken that was killed in front of us all for some reason. No warning. At my friend's wedding, the groom kicked the flower boy. He was no more than 10, so yeah. Last week at a BLM protest they were letting anyone come up and speak through a megaphone. This man got up and started talking about his newborn son and how he wanted to make sure we have a better world for him. He then started talking about love and unity, and the guy essentially had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. Then he brought up Bill Cosby and how he was arrested on allegations, and the crowd turned instantly. I, along with an entire beachfront of about 80 plus people, watched a boat back up and chop a lady up into pieces. It was bad. I was at a 4th of July fireworks show in Fort Walton, Destin, Florida. The show was being staged from the inlet from the Gulf of Mexico to the bay. People were watching it from the other side of the inlet, the Highway 98 bridge, and from their boats on the water. The first salvo launched, but one of the shells exploded either in the launch tube or just above, and ignited the rest of the show on the ground. Some launched a little bit before exploding. What was supposed to be a 30 to 40 minute show lasted 1 to 2 minutes. As the first shells blew up, I could see the silhouette of the technicians as they ran, like a stop motion movie. The technicians were cool as hell, since none of them were looking back at the explosions. I never realized how big the bursts were until I saw them going off on the ground. Everybody was trying to get away. We were being hit by pieces of fireworks. They weren't just landing on everybody, they were hitting us. My dad started the boat, but realized we couldn't move. A lot of kids were watching the show while they floated in the water. We were yelling at the other boats to stop because of the kids in the water. Fortunately, enough people heard/listened or realized what the problem now was that they stopped and locked everybody in place. Nobody was seriously hurt or killed, only a few techs were treated for minor burns. On that day, those techs outran Usain Bolt on the beach, wearing safety gear. Our Budweiser press conference that turned into a filmed suicide. When working on a kids show, a child goes missing within the first 15 minutes of the show starting. Show had an emergency stop so the parents could plead for the child to make himself known. Nobody was allowed to leave their seats or leave the building. Whole building had to be searched. Everyone assumed the worst, but after half an hour they resumed the show, even though the kid still had not been found. 10 minutes later we got word that the kid had wandered out of the building and was found safe and sound around the corner. To make matters worse, the show was Rapunzel, you know, where the story centers around a kidnapped child. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.